there, and thanks for checking in with MeetYourSweet.com. Have you ever heard of something called the 3-second rule, or simply threes? It's something that's favored by members of the pickup community, and basically what it means is that when you spot an attractive woman, you've only got 3 seconds to get over there and talk to her before you lose your chance for good. Apparently this is a good thing, because theoretically at least, the self-imposed time limit prevents you from getting anxious, too caught up in planning, and talking yourself out of going over there. Personally, I'm actually pretty skeptical of this rule. First of all, I happen to think that in many cases, a few extra minutes, or even hours given the situation, can actually help you to get your thoughts together. Think of a few witty one-liners and basically time your approach in a way that's going to maximize your chances of success. The 3-second rule, on the other hand, is constructed out of the belief that without a rigid structure in place, you're definitely going to screw up. I'm sure you guys can see where I'm going with this. 3S is based on the assumption that without an arbitrary self-imposed deadline in place, your alleged desperation and alleged lack of social skills will cause you to act desperate, needy, and end up just lurking around without ever even taking action. And that's precisely why I don't like it, because it's based on the idea that if you're left to your own devices, you're gonna fail. Obviously, 3S was created for the kind of guy who's literally just starting out, or who has a long history of paralyzing approach anxiety. The idea behind this rule is that it's there to give some tough love to this sort of guy while he gets his game sorted out. And it sounds nice in theory, doesn't it? But realistically, if you are the kind of guy who is totally not used to conversing with women, or who is prone to fits of neediness and insecurity, how likely is it that this arbitrary time-based rule, like 3S, is actually going to disguise that truth? My guess is barely. You can't cover up an entire personality with a few well-placed tricks. Rules like 3S are basically an attempt to reduce what's essentially a very scary, chaotic environment like women in dating to a formalistic set of safe, predictable rules and numbers. And hey, I get it. It would be cool to be able to control the situation around women. It sucks not knowing what's going to happen, what she's going to say, or how she's going to react. After all, a huge part of our own identity is tied up to how others react to us. So it's hardly surprising that strategies like 3S, which suggest a semblance of control over your environment, are so appealing. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. And if this kind of stuff actually worked, I wouldn't just be telling you guys about it, I'd be using it myself. I mean, who cares how arbitrary and control freaky something sounds if it actually works? But of course, that's the big stumbling block for me, because use what works is my own personal motto. And unfortunately, the truth is that trying to contain the craziness known as dating and attraction within the rigid confines of a set of rules just doesn't work. Here are a few more examples of rules that need to be shown at the bottom of your boot. Number 1, don't call her for 2 days after a date. Number 2, if you don't get sex early on, ditch her and move on to something better. Number 3, the only way that less than attractive men can get attractive women to want them is by subtly sabotaging their self-confidence and self-esteem. By the way, this is known in PUA circles as negging. Number 4, you should wait 1 year after a serious relationship ends before starting a new one. And number 5, attractive women will be more impressed with you if you bust on them and give them a hard time. Look, obviously the idea here is to come off as a socially valuable guy who has a lot of choices where women are concerned. And if you're trying to get something going with a woman, the last thing you want to do is seem desperate or needy or like a guy without options, because women have an uncanny habit of not being attracted to men who are of lesser value than they are. But I don't believe that playing games or sticking to some arbitrary timeline is going to be of that much assistance, partly because it's a lot of hard work and partly because it just doesn't even work half the time. The clincher here is that faking it in any way really doesn't work. For the vast majority of situations, basing your personality and rules, which are restrictive and based on the assumption that if you're left to yourself, you'll screw everything up, is both a boring and a bad idea. The trick to overcoming the situation is that it's not enough just to seem like a quality guy, you've actually got to be one. When you're genuinely not needy and you actually do have options and you really are a high value guy, all of that stuff becomes absolutely unmistakable to women, which sets you up for making some pretty powerful choices down the line. If you want to know more about how to really be the kind of guy that quality women find attractive, do me a favor and check out the website. You can find it online at MeetYourSweet.com/men. And thanks for checking in.